Trap cards are this close to being broken. Hey, what's up you guys? Paul here from Team APS, and today we're going to talk about just that, trap cards. Now, here's the thing. Trap cards have this stigma about them that, traps are dead in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're too slow, they don't work, because if you're going second, you're not going to be able to use them. Your opponent's going to make an unbreakable board, your opponent's going to, make an OTK thing, hand traps are better. We hear all this stuff. And to be completely fair, I'm also a culprit. I've said I really think trap cards are kind of dead, they're not worth playing. And the topping deck lists also reflect that. Most decks aren't even running a single trap card, and if they are, it's hyper specific, Trickstar Reincarnation or maybe evenly matched. It's kind of it. We don't see people running Solemns, we see people maybe siding some Floodgates. That's the extent of it. But, and I think a lot of people are going to misunderstand this, but I have a theory that trap cards actually are low-key pretty good. And if this game was any slower than it is now, I think trap cards would actually be overpoweringly good. I think about, Yu-Gi-Oh! Around maybe 2011 to maybe 2014 or so, when trap cards were, in my opinion, at their prime. I think of trap cards like Fiendish Chain, Dimensional Prison, Breakthrough Skill, Bottomless Trap Hold, Torrential Tribute, those types of traps, right? When you consider some of the powerful boss monsters of today, let's take, say, Totally Awesome, Crystal Wing, Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, kind of the negating type stuff. A lot of those actually lose to those very same trap cards. So, for example, a card like Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, right? And you activate, your Monster Reborn, and they use its effect to negate. If you chain Fiendish Chain to that, then not only will your Monster Reborn resolve, but Odd Eyes can't negate the Fiendish, and now it's out of commission. Its effect is completely negated, and Fiendish Chain's gonna stay, so it'll never have its effect back, and it also can't attack. For all practical intents and purposes, out of commission. Breakthrough Skill kind of works a similar way. Same with Lost Wind, for example. These traps can actually completely shut out these big negating monsters. The same goes for Totally Awesome. The same goes for Cyber Dragon Infinity and Crystal Wing. You can just chain a Fiendish, you can chain a Breakthrough, and just stop their effects. If your opponent's gonna be making all this stuff turn one, then these traps are generally gonna be kind of useless to you because you have to set them first, and that means that you're not getting to do your own strategy, and I get that. But really consider though, how strong traps would be if you got that turn to set them. They would actually be, in some cases, better than certain hand traps and stuff, We're in a format right now where a lot of monsters don't actually have the whole they can't be targeted thing. Back in Cosmo days of Dark Destroyer and Forerunner, where they couldn't be targeted, you couldn't use a Breakthrough Skill or a Fiendish Chain on them. But now you actually can, and it kind of doesn't stop there, because think about Link monsters too. Link monsters, if you're not making them with Scapegoat, are actually really high commitment monsters. Making a Decode Talker, making a Firewall, a Borreload, a Saryuya Skuldret, those take 3-4 monsters to make. It's a lot of commitment to the board, a lot of resources out of your hand or whatever, and they're all susceptible to Bottomless Trap Hole and Torrential Tribute. People say Borreload's so good and it's so difficult to beat and it's broken, but is it? You can just Bottomless Borreload. In fact, you can use Fiendish Chain and Breakthrough Skill and all that stuff on Borreload, and it's only untargetable by monster effects. Link monsters are improne to Book of Moon, but Fiendish Chain will work just fine. Bottomless will work just fine. And think about, your opponent giving up all those resources to summon a Decode Talker, and then it just kind of gets Bottomless. That sucks. It can't protect itself. Bottomless doesn't target. And, now not only did your opponent lose a lot of resources in making the monster, they even lose the link arrows that come from making link monsters. Most of the time we're trying to extend our board and stuff, but, if it just gets Bottomless or Solemn Struck or whatever, then that's that. I guess what I'm trying to say here is all things considered, traps are good. It's just that the game is a little too fast. If the game slows down at all, I think traps will be great. If you want a third reason, people aren't actually running backrow removal now. No one runs Twin Twisters. Of course, no one really runs MST. Cosmic Cyclone even is kind of falling out of style, and maybe it's just a side deck thing. People might run Anti-Spell Fragrance or, Unending Nightmare to stop Pendulum decks, but that stuff doesn't really do anything against the trap cards I'm mentioning. you know, your bottomlesses, your solemns, your fiendish, all that, most opponents aren't going to have a reliable out to it. So in that same example from earlier with like, you know, Vortex Dragon, totally awesome, Cyber Dragon Infinity, all these negators, what are they going to do when you just Fiendish Chain their monster? I guess if I'm going to be fair with this, if traps became prevalent, then people would run back row removal again. So maybe this is a bit of a moot point. There are certain monsters and decks that have a pretty easy time dealing with this stuff. Like Trickstars have Light Stage and it can kind of shut down back row cards. Obviously Masterpiece isn't going to be affected by like traps sometimes. So, you know, if they know that the traps are there, there are easy ways to deal with it. But that's just a few isolated instances. But it makes you wonder, like, if we were in a slower, you know, format, right? Because these traps were strong cards at a time. It's a testament to how, you know, fast the game has gotten that we can have Bottomless Trap Hole at 3 and Torrential Tribute at 3. Otherwise, really strong cards, and then them still not be played. But, you know, I think we would see cards in a different light if people just remembered how the traps themselves work. Again, sorry you use Skull Dread, you use 4 different monsters. If that's not like a scapegoat play, then that's 4 monsters for it to just get bottomless. Borload, bottomless. Decode Talker, bottomless Trap Hole. It's gone, and like your opponent lost nothing. Think about just the monsters it takes to make Link monsters. Link monsters make this game more committal. You see people running, you know, more Instant Fusion, Brilliant Fusion, Double Summon, just to get free monsters on the board to make this stuff. What if it gets Torrential Tributed? Like, you know, Torrental's free. Like, your opponent's gonna just lose their whole board, and they're gonna lose a lot of resources in making Link monsters, all for it to just get Bottomless Trap Hold. I don't know, like, what do you guys think is what I'm, I guess, asking. Like, I'll pass it off to you. Are traps like actually low-key pretty good? Is it just the slowness thing? There are gonna be comments on this video that are gonna be like, well, the problem with traps is they're too slow. I know that. What I'm really bringing up here is just an alternative like sort of line of thinking. I know it's not the reality, but it's like, what if it was? But it would take a lot. It would take, you know, slowing the game down. I don't know if it means like hitting hand traps. I don't know if it means kind of cutting out more of the consistency of the game, you know, taking away more of the terraformings, all the search cards, all the draw cards. I'm not sure, but I would like to see traps return, and I think that if they did, they could actually be super overpowering. Almost to the point of maybe being too strong again. So yeah, I feel like I've gone on long enough, but the point is, I pass off the question to you. Are traps actually pretty good? Anyways, that's the video. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I've got lots of interesting discussions like this coming up, so yeah, it'd be cool. Remember, let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of traps? Could they come back? Are they actually decent? That's gonna be it. I'll see you guys in the next video.